I've decided to do another video in regards about the situation with the Xbox Live services for Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and 4's 360 versions being shut down. But this is not the main focus. The main focus is, what is the point of backwards compatibility? And is it really a need for backwards compatibility in a way? Now, as we know, Microsoft has made backwards compatibility one of the most key features and to the point that they feel so proud of, that they promote it every chance they get. But this is the ultimate question. What is backwards compatibility without certain points of the original game? Now, let's look at it this way. If you got a game that has multiplayer in it, but then the multiplayer is shut down, for all intents and purposes, it's not entirely a game. It's half a game, or even a quarter of a game. Backwards compatibility for the full game means multiplayer as well. No matter, that is the key feature. All game. Now, many would say with Halo, the Master Chief Collection out, really it sets the mute. Like, there's really no reason to go back to the old school. However, my counter argument to this, and this is a very big counter argument, is that the whole reasoning to play backwards compatibility games is to play all avenues of the game. This includes multiplayer. I mean, to be honest, that's the whole reason why Xbox backward compatibility is there, is to try and bring people playing these old school games. And that's where I think Microsoft and the Xbox teams really jumped the gun and overshot. Is that the moment they put Halo 1, Combat Evolved, Halo 3, Reach, ODST, 4, and that backwards compatible, they should realise, wait a minute, that means the multiplayer is backwards compatible as well. That means, for all intents and purposes, and again, this is on Microsoft and perhaps even Industry 343 thinking that by putting the game backwards compatible, they've essentially created a new ecosystem using backwards compatibility. I mean, and then this is again where things I think have gone pear-shaped. They should realise that the moment that a backwards compatible game is put on, all avenues of the backwards compatible, even the multiplayer, is there. Now, if the multiplayer was shut down before backwards compatibility came on, that's something different. There was no way for them to activate it again unless Microsoft said, we will take full ownership of that. Like, we will incorporate that multiplayer system in our multiplayer server type system thinking. But, and again, this is something that really irks me, is that, again, what was the point of putting backwards compatible games on there that have multiplayer if you're not going to keep it operational, if you're not going to promote it, if you're not going to say, hey, you like playing the multiplayer in Halo 5, Halo Infinite. Try what made that multiplayer what it is. What brought Halo to where it is. The campaigns did bring something to it, but the multiplayer was the one thing that I think many brought up, especially was probably used in God knows how many tournaments. But again, backwards compatibility for Xbox is its core feature. The one feature that they're saying you can play your old 360 games, you can relive the old 360 games, and you don't need a 360 machine. Because, let's face it, the Xbox 360 machines are very hard to find. Some of them have been broken, damaged, and probably not functional. So backwards compatibility is the second best thing to do. And again, if you are using backwards compatibility to bring a game like Halo into the new era, then you have to promote it. You have to say, this is what you get when you get Halo backwards compatible. You get the original multiplayer and that. Now, many say, people are jumping the gun and that. People are like saying multiplayers are ever-growing, changeable beast that everyone jumps onto the new multiplayer fad. True, that's true. Above all else, that's true. Multiplayer is a bit of a fickly thing to try and contend with, because you got to constantly bring up new content for it, like constantly. And Halo 3 and Reach have never had any new maps, which was a failure on that part, which they could have easily used maps from a bit of the campaign and a bit of the expanded universe, like, I don't know, create a multiplayer match of Harvest, or I don't know, there are so many planets that they could use, they can, like, put these multiplayer maps into. And again, that's on that part of not thinking creatively. Now, there are ways to pretty much, again, sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart, but there are so many ways that one can solve problems, in a sense. Solve the problem of how to bring more player bases to the classic games. It's very simple. Promote it, make tournaments out of it. I mean, you can make anniversary tournaments, like, say, it's the so-and-so years since Halo 3 came out, or anything like that. We're hosting a special Xbox 360 tournament. That type of thinking could really come about. And again, and if anyone from Microsoft and 343 watch this, please, for the love of God, watch it. Because I'm just trying to point out something and trying to realistically point out a key, a bit of a, I would say a bit of a shot in the foot type moment of thinking when it comes to your backwards compatibility plans. Because realistically it is a shot in the foot when you're incorporating backwards compatibility, when you're not incorporating all of the components in backwards compatibility, multiplayer included. Now, they're saying, again, naturally there are costs. Naturally, and backwards compatibility does bring a certain cost to things, especially when it comes to trying to keep things such as, well, involving multiplayer, a healthy player base, and maintenance and upkeep of the servers. Naturally, that is the key. And naturally, when incorporating old games that have equipment that is older than the console, then that naturally raises problems. And especially when you're using old networking systems from the original. Like, 360, but correct me if I'm wrong, 360 systems, internet accessing was restricted at the technological time of the internet providing. So meaning they were hindered by the internet. More so than anything, I think the internet technology hindered the 360 a lot more. And newer games, sorry, it's in my hand. Newer games using newer internet providing, such as The new internet software technology has definitely grown and have definitely made things more flexible for developers. 4K resolutions, internet, those type of things naturally grow constantly. Now, how can, again, one step over these hurdles in terms for backwards compatibility? Again, 3 factors play a key role on building up these 360, whether it's 360 games, multiplayer on a new fan base, on a new player base. Is one, promoting. You can't just promote your new games. Again, that's silly to think. Promoting your new games will then promote other games. No. If you're going to stick by your game, the brand, which is, for again, Halo, or a game like Halo, Mass Effect, or Gears of War, and that, you can't rely on the name alone to get a better promotional. Even if you do backwards compatible, you can't just say, here's backwards compatible, go nuts. No! You got to promote these games. You got to show what these games can do. Be backwards compatible. That means, A, you got to present these games when you're doing live streams about Xbox. If you're doing something about adding more backwards compatible games, you got to go, this is the library, this is what you get with these games. We want you to play these games, we want you to enjoy these games. You can't just say, here's backwards compatible, enjoy. No, you got to get word to mouth. You got to get like for me, I will be the first one to state, I would strongly recommend people play the classical versions, the 360 versions of Mass Effect before you go into Mass Effect Legacy Edition. Because, again, you get a bit of more understanding on what changes were made, and you get a bit of an understanding of what fans loved about it. It was the same with Dragon of Age. If they ever make a remastery of Dragon of Age Origins and 2, I would say play the original so you get a bit of understanding. I would say to any new Xbox player, play the original Halos. They're good. You get a bit of understanding of what came in from the 360 to now. Play the originals. It would be the same with Call of Duty. If you want that experience of understanding Call of Duty as a franchise as a whole, play the originals. You get much more better understanding on what it took to build up to in terms of graphical and all that type of stuff. Play the originals. Again, it's as simple as that. Word to mouth. If someone says, I would strongly recommend play the original multiplayer for Halo, and which I am. I do recommend anyone, if they want to try it, and that. Again, that type of way is where we need to go. And people say, I don't want to play games on 30 FPS or whatever you want to call it, but different type of old graphical type ways. I say, come on. New graphics, make everything more shiny. Does it make it more charming, more better than the originals? The answer is no. Because, again, the only thing difference is the graphics. Realistically, the old school games can more often not be better than the new. So, again, with backwards compatibility in play here is is it viable? Is it viable to do backwards compatible? Or is it not? Because if you're doing backwards compatible, you have to incorporate every aspect of that game into the backwards compatible. Multiplayer included. That's the catch. multiplayer included. And if you do, then you have to heavily promote the shit out of it. Plain and simple. You can't just say, here's backwards compatible, enjoy. You need to go in it and say, here's, and this is just an example. We've got so many games promoted, games on backwards compatible. Play like Halo 3, the original Halo 3. A great game, one of the founding points of Master Chief's legacy from to Infinite. Something like that. Again, that's not trying to be perfect. That's just an example of what they can do. I mean, if people in development weren't so lazy in thinking that the name alone would get new fans playing these old games, again, reckless on their part, foolish on their part, trying to rely on the name alone. Not very good marketing, not very good in the sense of promoting. Like, if they think, like Halo Infinite, they think the name Halo and the legacy and the foundationings of the old school games are going to make Halo Infinite a bestseller. Again, not the best move. And it's the same with Call of Duty. The name Call of Duty is sometimes not the best to try and just promote by name alone. You can't do that. You have to show them everything that has transcended to that point. Like the originals. If you show from the first Call of Duty, to the latest, then you're going to get somewhere. And again, when you incorporate backwards compatibility, that is something that needs to be recognized, is the fact that you need to promote it. You need to promote the games individually. You can't just say, we've gotten so many good new titles coming backwards compatible. You need to promote these games individually. And say, if you seen Halo Infinite, like again, I'm using Halo, or use Halo and Mass Effect as reference points. If you like the Legacy Edition, then you should try the original, critically acclaimed games on the 360, and that type of stuff. You need to promote the originals as well as the remasters. You need to promote that. Because again, you can't rely on the name of the brand to get the sales good. You're thinking that pre-existing players of the 360 versions are going to continue playing it. No! You got to bring new blood in. You got to bring in new people. You can't expect people that when first got the 360 for Halo to be around, because either they've got families of their own and they got stuff that pretty much stopped them from playing it, or they've got all the achievements. No, you have to rely on getting new blood, new players into these. And you need to bring it in. You need to work to get those new players in. You can't just rely on the old school. You can't just rely on others to do that work for you. You have to do it yourself. You can't just go, it's Halo, it's Call of Duty, it's Gears of War, it's Assassin's Creed, it's yada yada, everything like that. When you bring in these games as backwards compatible, you can't rely on just their names to get people to play it. You gotta do the work. You gotta show what these games are about. You gotta show them. You gotta show them. You gotta advertise them for peak's sake. I know this is a bit of a rant, and I apologize, but that just needs to be addressed on that fact. Is that you got so many games and backward compatibility, and either they got multiplayer or not, and they thinking that just putting them on backward compatibility or even on Game Pass is going to get people on it. No, you need to promote it. You need to show it. You need to demonstrate to people. This part is a bit of an open message to 343 and to Microsoft. I strongly recommend you reconsider shutting down these servers, because again, there's so much capability and ability to add new content, to add new challenges, to do all that. All it is needed is creative thinking. Think creatively, and it could turn things around. It could get new people playing it. Please, if you feel that I've made some points, if you agree with things, if you don't agree with my rambling, whatever you want to call this a bit, put it in the comments. Above all else, be constructive, and that constructive criticism is always welcome. Random rambling, swearing, that type of shit, no, but constructive criticism is appreciated. Bye.